Hi there, guys. God bless you. Thank you for joining us. Hoping that this finds you well. Going to be looking at an article coming out from zerohedge.com. It is titled "The UK and Canada Lead the West's Descent into Digital Authoritarianism." Hoping that you've been able to see as you've come on in, sort of like a few videos there, literally giving you a little bit of a backdrop as to how it is that the UK and Canada got to this particular state. Some videos looking at the UK as well as some of the tyrannies over in the Canada and that part of it. Also a video relating to the Club of Rome's First Kingdom, with the 51st state being Canada, and then moving on after they've captured that with Greenland. Interesting how we're seeing the US securing its southern borders with maybe perhaps an assault on Venezuela. So hoping that you've been able to see our read all about it section, guys, and our you can read all about it section as well. Also, we put a video up on Rumble just relating to this ETA scheme, where you're literally going to need to have permission in order to fly. This is all part of the Agenda 2030 goals, by banning non-essential travel, making it a really horrific environment here. People are having to surrender their biometric data, no doubt digital IDs as well, and the imposition on that is a really great way of making sure that people aren't taking these flights. If you throw in a few plane crashes as well, that'll give them that fear sort of like a mentality around getting onto a plane and boarding it. Being told by the World Economic Forum that people are only going to be able to make one trip every sort of like 3 to 5 years, and that's only going to be a distance of 1,500 kilometers, which wouldn't get you pretty much anywhere if you've got friends over in the States or over in Europe or wherever. It would really make life increasingly difficult, all the whilst our enemy literally sort of like walks around on their sort of like private jets and the like. So hoping that you've been able to see that video that's out on Rumble as well, guys. Also, as we've been saying, I'm going to keep on saying this, okay, just because there's 11 people on our Telegram channel, and I'm just like, are you kidding me? There's like 13,000 documents, end time headline documents, which is a library. All right. And then there's 900 videos, there's 900 pictures, 900 memes. We've got everything backed up. Now we've got sort of like another 150 plus articles, links there. We've got 4 or 5 other videos since we've been back as well. And there's 11 people. I find that a little bit shocking, guys. So could we please perhaps put a link in here, our dear sister, in terms of just saying, look, man, can we just go over there and have a little look-see at all of the information there? Our team has done a great job in literally backing all that up. And so for me personally, it's like this, okay? When sort of like Prophet Daniel and Apostle John was shown the end times, all right, this generation, our sort of like, brothers and sisters here, the church now, are the ones that are here to see this unfold, unravel. When they were told to seal up the books and go along their way, we have the honor and the privilege of speaking out against all of this. So you just imagine that each day, guys, we're knocking out on YouTube just about 50 posts every day, plus there's a live 6 days a week on our Telegram channel. We now have 13,000 and plus articles, 900 videos, 900 memes and clips there for you. This beast system wants to erase all of that. It wants to have an information war, turns around and says what's misinformation, disinformation. It is so important, guys, that we have this information, that you have that information there. We can't work any harder as a team in terms of our work ethic, with our mods doing such a great job here and our team behind also doing all that they can. So I'm encouraging you to go over to our Telegram channel and go and show some support also to our Rumble channel before these guys go taking this information down, which is why the team have done such a great job in saving all of that there for you. So hoping that you've been able to see that. And if you have enjoyed some of the sort of like posts that we put in this morning, then you can go over to Telegram and pop into the links there and see for yourself what that was all about. Hopefully in the next sort of like 2.5 months, maybe 3 months, should I not get another strike, which is unlikely, all right, then I might be able to put those links in there for you. And so trying to build that up and save that. And in my defense, I'm just going to say there are very few channels out there that cover the subjects that we cover. So when we're exposing things like abortion, euthanasia bills, medical assistance in dying, when we're exposing the vaccines and the chemtrails and the weaponizing of the food and the water that's being used against you, as well as all of the other digital tyrannies, as well as the child sex trafficking, as well as all of the adrenochrome, all right, as well as really exposing this beast system. There are few channels that have the amount of information that we have, and that's not a boast, that's just a fact. Okay, it's a humble fact. So I encourage you to use that information whilst it's there for you, and not to be maybe perhaps selfish in your knowledge base, but actually share that and upload that onto your social media platforms, or keep that to one side, please, if you will. So hoping that you've been able to see some of that. I want to come out with this article today that we're going to be looking at, guys, which is the UK and Canada lead the West descent into digital authoritarianism. We only have to just remind ourselves that the fact that both of these guys are sort of like, young global graduates, both WEF, infiltrated. This was what Klaus Schwab was saying when he was boasting around infiltrating governments. One of his sort of like, pride and joys really was the fact that he had taken over the entirety of the Canadian government. In fact, so many of the politicians there are young global graduates or young global leaders. And so you'd have to sort of like ask the question, who is it that they end up serving? Is it the interests of the Canadian people? I very much doubt that. It's the interests of the World Demonic Forum with Davos and its agenda and the like. Same thing that's happening over here into the UK as well. When Keir Starmer was asked the question, whom is it you prefer, Davos or do you prefer Westminster? The boy didn't hesitate. He went straight to Davos. And so we're seeing this sort of like happening, are we not? We said the other day about how each person is given a different part of the beast systems plan, if you will. And we're seeing Canada, and we are seeing the UK, and we are also, despite the fact that my sort of resource here doesn't mention it, let's also mention Australia, which is the only reason that we're back on Telegram. This is why I'm trying to encourage people to go over there. It's not because I want views, I want popularity, not at all. All right, we can work a 6-day week, guys, and we can't get over 1,200 views. Or sort of like channel family members. It doesn't matter how much we work or how good the quality. We are shadow banned, we are blacklisted, we have got AI algorithms against us, and we have people running human interference. Okay, I can't compete with that. I can only go on my prayer walks and pray that the Lord will lead to our channel who he wants to wake up, and lead who he will to this as part of our ministry. That's all I can do. But on December the 10th, our Australian brothers and sisters aren't going to be able to even access Google without submitting to proof of identity with a digital ID. That's astonishing. And you think that's going to be bad. Where do you think it's going to be heading next? Because Australia are the guinea pigs. Then it's like, rolled out with the UK and then Canada, in my opinion, from what I've seen when it comes to the tyrannies that we've had with online speech bills and digital IDs and CBDCs and passports and biometric data and everything else that we've been seeing. All right, it all comes down to these particular nations, because if you nail these particular nations, like you get everything sorted out with Canada and the US and the UK and also Australia, that's it. You can push the rest over the line when it comes to other nations that we're seeing. So part of our heart of creating that channel on Telegram is for our Australian brothers and sisters who aren't even going to be able to access YouTube. They're not going to be able to access Rumble. That's how devastating it is going to be. And this is where we are all heading. I hope, guys, that you see some of this. And this is the reason why I'm saying, please take the time to go over there and share. If you want pictures and clips and images from the beast system, you're going to find it there in our Telegram channel. You just are. You are not going to find that on Google or Bing or Ask Jeeves or Microsoft or any of those search engines. You are not going to find that there. And unless you've got a sort of like a backup of all of that being saved over the last 8 years worth of work, you ain't going to find it anywhere. And before they end up removing all of it, okay, then please do help yourself. Please do save that for yourself. If you're having conversations with people about certain things and they're saying, prove it, here you go, out of the horse's mouth, exhibit A. All right, so that's the reason why that we're sort of like, I'm trying to push that as well. And then obviously our Rumble channel also has like, you know, kind of like 930 plus videos with a maximum of 52,000 people seeing all of it. All right, so we don't do what we do here as a team because we want views or we want popularity. We do it in obedience to Father God, because he's turned around to us as an Ezekiel 33 watchman and says, report what it is that you see. And then also as a caveat to that, Ezekiel 2, which is literally him saying, speak. Whether they listen or don't listen, that's not your problem. Your job is to just speak. And if they want that information, they'll go there. And if they want to know about it, they'll come to your channel. And if they don't, then they won't. You can't force someone to do any of that. You can only hope and recommend that the quality and the work and the quantity of work is there for them. And should they want to find it, it'll be there. Because I guarantee you, the way things are going, that ain't going to happen. So our Australian brothers aren't going to be able to find stuff on YouTube. And if they want to stand and hold the line and say, you know what, I don't want you having my privacy. I don't want you having my data, my name and address and everything about me to weaponize that against me at a later date. I don't want that. And that's the same that I'm going to be in as well. I'm not going to sign up to these tyrannies with the digital IDs. I'm not going to submit to the beast system. I'm not going to. We have the great joy and honor of actually saying, no, we're not going to yield to the beast system, exemplifying for our brothers and sisters and mirroring, saying, look, don't bow down to the beast. Well, we didn't bow down to its system. So it's really important that we have that in mind when we're doing some of these things. As you might see on those platforms, there's a lot of stuff relating especially to Australia, America, Canada, and you know, the like as well, where I've got a real heart for these nations as a Brit. You know, Canada, I've got family in Canada, and you know, sort of like a real heart for our Aussie friends, and obviously our American cousins also, a real heart for them. So there's been an extra amount of videos that have been put in all across those platforms for you. And please do see as you come on in. Enough of the housekeeping nonsense there now. All right, so guys, as always, we're going to have a look at this from a few angles today. It might be a little bit longer of a live. I can't apologize to that because we're going to be looking at 2 countries, and I want to do like what we usually do, is a bit of a refresh when it comes to here's some headlines over the last sort of like 6 months or so around Canada and some of those sort of like, you know, hardships that they're under and they're experiencing, as well as obviously if you're Brit over here as well in the UK, just trying to highlight that. And then we get into the kind of like nitty gritty of that with the actual article. But I would like to check in and just see who the Lord's brought up in here there now before we begin. And we will be starting with our 2 Cool for School Canadian brothers and sisters in terms of what's been going on for them. So yeah, as you come in, guys, you can see those video links there. You might have to wait until tomorrow, especially I saw our Megan, sis, no but love for you, but can you just like wait until tomorrow? I was just about to fall asleep last night when I had to bring those up, so please do wait. You have to wait like 12 hours or something stupid for them to come up in the chat, but they are there for you. Hi staff, bless you, good to see you. Hi Sherry, thanks for being here. Hi daughter Fishika, all of you guys. Hi Megan. Hi Michelle, bless you. Bless you also, all of you guys coming on in. Hi Laurie. Really good that you guys are showing each other some love. This is what we're talking about. A safe space where there isn't that anymore for any one of us. You can come on over here and you can just, you know, with the awesomeness of our team, just be loved, just be blessed, just be cared for, you know. Bless you. Thank you for putting our Telegram channel up there. It's the one with 7.3 at the end of that, because there is an imposter over there, but I'm not going to be shying away because of that. Laurie said, went on to Rumble, watch drinking the bugs. Yeah, that's not nice. Okay, Yeah, I was in the middle of reading all the articles on Telegram when you went live. I know, I'm really sorry. Ordinarily, hi Megan, bless you. Ordinarily, I'd give you loads of notice. I'd set it all up and do all of that, but I am not giving my enemy as much chance as it can to mess with the lives, to unsubscribe, to set up any restrictions that it wants to do. I'm just not giving it. I'm not playing the game like that. So 10 minutes is like, okay, can I get stuff sorted out in 10 minutes? Can I put the kettle on? Can I throw in some links? Can I get it all set up in 10 minutes and put some videos in as well? Yeah, I can. Let's just do that. So I apologize to you. I know it's a little bit sporadic, but this is roughly around the time that we do stuff. All right, in the morning, you get the articles, and then you'll get them on Telegram, you'll get them on YouTube, and then I make a video and I stick it onto Telegram. Then I ping it over to Rumble, and then I'm on a prayer walk, and then I'm preparing for the live, and then here we are. And then after that, there's other things that get posted in relation to the live. So I'm hoping that you guys get to see our rhythm and how that all rolls out. And thank you for putting our Rumble channel up there as well. Thank you. Bless you guys. Hi, Alison. Bless you. Megan's saying that she really likes your handle. Can I just say that I don't? Okay. And that's not because I'm being mean to you. It's not, because you're not a cow. All right. So I know it's Scottish, but it's just like, no, I can't concur. I'm sorry. Nothing but love for you. Nothing but love for you. But no. I can't do that. Hi, last days discerning mum. Morning, listening from a job I'm grateful to have, but unfortunately, hey, I like that. I'm going to read that again because that was so cool. Good morning, listening from a job I am grateful to have, but unfortunately, hey, we've all got those sorts of stuff. I love this is my job. I'm like, there are some days where I sort of like I finished, I go for my prayer walk and I'm looking up to the heavens with a really ticked off look on my face, and I'm just like, how just and I'm just sometimes don't know what to say because I'm that wound up or I'm that sort of upset. And then there's other days where I'm just like, you could have that beast system. Do you know what I mean? How'd you like those apples? But yeah, I love my job, and I've had some really crap ones in the past, but this one I really love. This is the best thing that I've ever done. But I do appreciate as well, if you're there and you're just thinking, okay, it doesn't pay me good, the people are rubbish, and the job is just doo-doo. I get that, but bless you. Thank you for listening. Okay. We're going to make that job look a whole lot better with what we come out with today. I'm telling you. Bless you. Okay, Laurie's saying here, how can I access Telegram? I've downloaded the app and it keeps telling me to chat, to add your phone number. Is that the right app? Yeah, you've got to add your number with it. All right, that's what you got to do. And I would really strongly recommend that you mute us, because otherwise it's silly o'clock in the morning. You're going to get me pinging away, especially if you're on the other side of the pond, because I'll get up in the morning and I'll be like, pew, 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 pew. And I'm aware that can do some people's nut, you know, and I get the, I think I'd throw my phone at the wall, although I don't have my phone in my bedroom anyway, because I just don't want it sort of like ringing my ear. But yeah, you got to give that up. And once you've got the app, that's great. And as you go into our app, you'll see at the pinned comment, all right, the 13,000 articles, all right, then the 900 videos, 900 photos, and then obviously you'll see everything that we've just done up as well regarding all of that. So I'm aiming to way surpass those numbers. But that whole platform, that whole channel took about 3-4 years to build up. And it was just so irritating. It didn't matter how hard we worked. We were not able to get over 1,600 views. We would never. And that's what I'm suspecting, that they're just going to cap us at. It's like, there's no way this boy gets over 1,500 views or subs or nothing with any of it. All right. Because I've been working on these platforms for years. And yet I remember when Barry Scarborough and sort of like Chad Thomas both came back after their sort of like sabbaticals. And then within that week, they had like 74,000 and 100,000. And I've been busting the gut 6 days a week for 4 years. And I can't get over 1,600. All right. So now you know what it is that we're up against. So you do have to do all of that. There is a guy running his own little group as Watchman Dan, you know, Trendell, whatever. I'm just like, dude, whatever. I'm over that. But yeah, that's what you got to do, Laurie, I'm afraid. Oh, bless you. Michelle's retired. Just don't rub it in, all right? Just don't rub it in. I will never retire from this. Never. That's okay. You're very welcome. All right. How about we get into that now? Seeing all the ladies in the house. Okay, we're going to start with Canada. All right, just because I can. Here we go. We're going to look at some of the sort of like tyranny, some of the headlines that we've been speaking out and about. Here we go. Canada rolls out mandatory digital ID for welfare recipients. It's only a matter of time, guys, until that's going to be happening over in the UK and also in Australia. These three sort of like nations are very intertwined. So understandably, you're going to be getting the governments that are trying to roll out these digital IDs saying, look, well, it's our money, you know, you've got to have the ID. And if you connect, you know, everybody in some way directly or indirectly has to access their government in that way, that's a great way of getting the digital ID rolled out. So much for it being voluntary, because it's not. So if you're over here in the UK and you pay council tax, bam, that's it, done. You've got to phone them up and you know, pay them that way. You're phoning up the government. If you're a family, you've got child tax credits and the likes. You've got pensions. If you're on sick benefits or universal income, you've got to use it. So it's only a matter of time, and I suspect it's going to be happening very, 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 very soon, that they'll switch this into being. But already, like we've been saying, one of these three nations, Canada, Australia and the UK, will take it in turns in which things that they're going to be imposing. But here, Canada are doing it first. Canada rolls out mandatory digital ID for welfare recipients. Also, Canada's Supreme Court rules and jails sentences for paedophiles are unconstitutional. It's these guys that want to put their perversions in and amongst the alphabet people and normalize their sick in their heads sort of like, you know, lusts and really come out as such. We've been exposing this a lot, really. Canada is leading the way in this regard. Canada's 1.2 trillion depopulation plan exposed the government plot to euthanize 14.7 million citizens has been uncovered. Seeing this everywhere with those that are, you know, sort of got mental health challenges. Some of those got learning disabilities. Some of those are elderly. Some of those are frail. Some of those are veterans. Some of those people that go in with a ingrown toenail and are offered medical assistance in dying. Same thing that's happening over here in the UK. See the mirroring of these policies and these demon agendas we have with Kim Ledbetter, the witch that she is, really driving the euthanasia bill as well, making it that you don't have to go telling you know, parents about this particular decision as well, all offering death. The UK doing the same thing in its own particular way with having, you know, death penalties, etc. So we're seeing this depopulation agenda, how sad and tragic it is for a civilized society to be offering death as opposed to love and care and support and providing, you know, respective and appropriate services to meet the needs of its populace. No, we're just going to kill you off. Absolutely evil, and they're quite able to do that. So when you get Mark Carney on his election celebration campaign and he's pathetically flipping off Satan horns, you know, and then all of his lackey little gits doing the same thing. Oh man, I was like, if ever there was a moment for a grenade to be pulled, seriously, awful. Trudeau imported 36.5% of Canada's population under WEF Great Replacement Agenda. This is a way of like removing the national identity and national sovereignty, is it not, from these nations by flooding them in with an open door policy. Here, Canada's eco-false flag exposed. Glyphosate sprayed forests set to ignite engineered mega fires. Mega fires. This is what I'm suspecting, guys. In order that Canada becomes a part of the Club of Rome's first kingdom, all right, with it being US, Canada, and Greenland, go to the map, type in Club of Rome, 10 kingdoms, and you'll see it for yourself. These guys stealing it from the prophet Daniel, okay? And when you see that happen, okay, this is what I suspect that they're going to have, some type of false flag event in Canada. something of the sort of a mega fire. They'll weaponize the weather with Augustus and Peter Thiel, or there'll be some, activation of something really bad that's gone on, so that in comes America, swooping it all in and holding it all up, and then wham, there you go. And then the pretense of, oh no, we've got a few submarines around Greenland with China and sort of like Russia. Oh, we've got to keep Greenland all safe. We'll just take that off Denmark and we'll just have it all for ourselves. And voila, there you go. The same thing that's happening over here with the UK, with it coming back to Brexit and rejoining that as the European Union. Again, that is the second Club of Rome's kingdom. Get bricks out of it. It's just a lie, the whole lot of it. Continuing, Canada begins euthanizing child rape victims while pedophiles walk free. King Charles arrives in Canada to support the country against Trump. All right, this was in May of this year, but this was all a way of, having some false, show and tell that we've got that support. Here, Canada to begin euthanizing citizens deemed mentally ill, including conspiracy theorists. And this is all going to start happening in 2027. Here, Canada's medical assistance in dying program is set to expand, as if it can't anyway, in 2027 to include individuals whose sole underlying condition is mental illness. These are the guys that are sick in the head. Can they be rolled out with medical assistance in dying? Can they be stuck in some sort of gas chamber like the rest of us have to live with everything being sprayed over our head? Can they have death by lethal injection in the same way that we have to have all of these evil, demonic, vaccines? Telling me, disturbingly, the Canadian state has adopted an increasingly broad and subjective definition of what mental health is, and then relating that to conspiracy theorists. And this is when it will all get down to how it was in Nazi Germany with those that were political centers. They were sterilized. They were literally, sent off to the gas chambers for re-education. This is what they'll end up doing, guys. Canada promotes euthanasia for kids with mental health issues without parental consent. This is how sick in the head the Canadian government is. Pilot testifies Bill Gates is spraying chemicals in Canada, causing mass psychosis and suicide. So if you are feeling a little bit under the weather, it's not just because of that. Maybe perhaps there's some behavioral modification being sprayed over your city, over your town, into your water supply and your food. Here, Canada PM vows to provide sterilizing puberty blockers to children. PM Mark Carney says Canada is ready to lead the world. Back the truck up. Speaking of, trucker protest leader sentenced to 3 months house arrest for protesting COVID restrictions in Canada. Unelected globalist banker with Jeffrey Epstein links appointed Canada's prime minister. Oh, it's great, isn't it? Surely if you was like eyeing up like a CV, it's just like, this guy's an affiliate of that, I think I'll pass. But it's not. You got all of these, the World Economic Forum literally in that situation where it was like Klaus Schwab was to get everybody infiltrated over all of the governments, raise the profile, get famous personalities and do all of this sort of stuff. In comes Larry Fink from BlackRock, which owns everything. And now what has the WF turned around and said? Okay, now we are entering the enforcement stage, and opposition to that will result in death. Could euthanasia not be any more of that? Could the sterilizing and culling of that generation, as well as all of these surgeries, also play their parts? It's inconceivable when we think about it. Even the former Prime Minister Trudeau was accused of ushering Canada towards a legitimate style of communism. Here, Trump proposes Canada becomes the 51st US state following Trudeau's resignation. All eyeing up this land. This is how it all is. Revelation 17. All right, these 10 kings, and we're seeing them all, as it says in the holy word of God, all of one mind, all of one purpose, to give their power unto the beast. And are we not seeing that when they're all following the Agenda 2030 goals, the Sustainable Development Goals, all 17 of those monstrosities? Yeah, as they're following the playbook from the Club of Rome. all right, and the Committee of 300 and the Bilderbergers, all right, etc., etc., if they're not flipping off their, Masonic hand gestures every 10 seconds that they can. Here, Canada imprisoning citizens who refuse to take government-mandated medication. So this is it. The forced vaccination is going to be rolling. This is why I'm desperately trying to work on my exit strategy, because I'm not going to be around for these guys. They're going to start imposing how it is that I live. All of a sudden, they're now saying, no, you can't come over here unless you've got this authorization. You've got this permission. Prove your identity. On biometrics at an airport. It starts in an airport with the biometrics, with the digital ID, under the pretense that you can just come in quickly and that's all fine, that's all good. And then it will end up into other areas of society, just like CCTV did, just like facial recognition did as well. Now it's going to be happening. It'll be turning around to being in shops, and it will start being in other areas around every aspect of our society. This is normalized through this way. And when they have pandemic agreements like they've got over in Canada, Australia and Singapore and Malaysia and Japan, where they permit forced vaccinations. It's not a joke. It's part of their law. And then having UN troops that are able to be on there to police and implement it. Canada imprisoning citizens who refuse to take government-mandated medication. This is why God is so gracious to us as his church, as his people. We are children of the light. That the Lord, we're not left in darkness. We know our master's business, and our master, our Lord and our Savior, Jesus Christ, turns around and says, I love you guys so much. Be careful. This is what's happening. This is what's coming your way. Make your preparations. Do not be caught unawares. All right, because this is what's going to be coming for you. The digital IDs, these tyrannies that we're speaking out. And why, oh, why do you think that they're trying to silence us so much? Because of what it is that we have to share with you is so vitally important. And yet they'll promote everybody that will sing from the beast system's sheets. Oh, terrifying, guys. What these guys are literally going to be rolling out next. It only takes one more pandemic and that's it. And they'll be forced vaccinating people, just like they've got in Australia with these camps, like they've got in America with FEMA camps, like they've been preparing over here in the UK as well, when it comes to just taking out football stadiums and then having on-site crematoriums, all right, destroying all of the evidence. It only takes one of those, sort of like planes in the air to be putting something other than the barium and the aluminium and the other carcinogenics. And what happens if they would start putting poisons in over that? NBC, nuclear, biological, chemical weapons in these chemtrails, and just spraying out everybody, and then everyone will be falling down with their face melting off, bleeding from every orifice. And then everyone will understand what Bill Gates was saying in his revelation of the method. Oh, we'll get their attention next time. Well, the Lord God's trying to get your attention right here, right now. What are you going to do with that information? And then it's just like things like this that Canada to allow naked men to share communal showers with underage girls. Canada to begin euthanizing millions of COVID vaccine injured citizens. So it injures them and then offers them death. So we didn't do a thorough enough job for you, did we really? The government, Canada government, forced to admit soaring excess deaths are linked to COVID boosters. Bank of Canada decides to scrap plans to create digital currency. Yes, they said that this time last year. But the only reason they said that is because you can't have the CBDCs until you've got the digital IDs. The second that you've got digital IDs, hot on the trail to that will be the digital passport, and hot on the trail to that will be the CBDCs. And lo and behold, there will be one country or maybe a few countries that will have an experience some of this, where there'll be the false flag, Black Swan, Event 11, whatever it will be, to push it over to the line, to change the whole financial monetary system and push it through. Just want to read one more page out of this, guys. It's so important to give you an understanding of what it is that we're saying. So when we're making grandiose statements such as, "Oh, Canada's in authoritarianism," and that's, you know, sort of like that. Here's the reasons why. You see some of these other bills, these censorship bills that are coming out over in Canada. Here, Trudeau signed a new law to kill off independent media in Canada. Canada to imprison anyone who has ever posted hate speech online. Canada rolls out social credit system. Non-compliant citizens will have bank accounts frozen. Saw that with truckers. What happened to the Vietnamese who refused the digital ID? Had all their bank accounts frozen, erased, gone. And this is the link that it wouldn't want me to put in, but I'm going to read it out to you right now, because this is really, really happening. But it's more so happening over here in the UK. We'll get on to the UK's case in a minute. The Canadian regime to ban Christianity under radical new hate speech laws. Bill C-367. Bill C-367 will ban Christians from expressing an opinion based on their beliefs, making it a criminal offence. These new speech laws. The UK had it over here as well, did it not, with the online safety bills? And the attack on churches also continues in Canada, with them burning them to the ground. All right, and that was Canada, guys. All right, so we're going to be looking at a moment. All right, the article coming out from zerohedge.com. The UK and Canada lead the West's descent into digital authoritarianism. All right, and now we're going to be coming over to the UK, just giving you a little bit of a refresh as to what's been happening to our Canadian brothers and our Canadian sisters. All right, here we go. UK Keir Starmer's, this is quite funny actually, trips over his feet as he arrives for G20 meeting. What do they say that comes after Pride? You know what I mean? That was hilarious. I was going to make a video of that, but I just thought, nah, I can just butcher this guy here. Look, Keir Starmer: citizens who reject digital ID must pay £85 every time they're asked to prove identity. What is it that we were saying earlier, guys, in and around, you know, this sort of like, you know, forcefulness of these guys' agenda, and how literally they've got 5 years to finish all of their Agenda 2030 goals and get there. So when you're seeing all these things like, oh, it's going to be in 26 and then 2027 and then it's going to be 2029. All right, this is why I think that we're out of here in 2032 or 2033, in between that, and then we're on the clouds with the Lord for, you know, the start of the millennial reign and Armageddon at 2040. Because we're seeing so many of these things starting to take shape, guys. Because this is what I do. Other people do timelines, they do calculations, they do what they do. I look at the enemy, and this is what my enemy is doing, and I'm seeing his, you know, sort of like ground troop movements being done this way. But there you go. Talk about, you know, it being voluntary, paying £85. It's like, nah. First of all, they said that the digital IDs were literally just going to be for immigration. That was a complete and utter lie. No one believed it. And then it was a case of, oh, you're going to need it if you need a new job. Oh, you're going to need it if you need a new flat. Oh, then we're going to give it to all the children because that'd be safe. And we'll tie it into that bill over there with the online safety bill as well. And then, oh, now you can have all your benefits on it. Oh, now you can have it, you know, for this particular reason, go out and buy a pint or whatever. And it's just like, come on, quit lying. They serve the father of lies. And if you do not know what the, you know, sort of like the Fabians are, all I've been saying to you guys, haven't I, today, that Canada is infiltrated 100% by the World Economic Forum. Well, over here in the UK, we've got half of that number, but the rest of them are Fabian Marxists. And you don't know what the Fabians are? Please go over to our account on Rumble and see for yourself who the Fabians are. Their logo is a wolf in sheep's clothing. All right, their Marxist ideology. They worship Stalin. All right, they worship Karl Marx. Look at what they're doing to this country. Look at what they're doing to Canada. Look what they're doing to Canada, Australia as well. And here you go, Starmer, same thing he did today. Starmer praises India's Orwellian digital ID system. No, half of the Indians didn't want any of this, and none of it all works. Oh, and by the way, it's all been hacked. Okay, and all of the people's data and their personal information has been half-inched. All right, here, Starmer faces furious backlash over digital ID card proposal. Doesn't care, doesn't want to have a debate about it. Talking about, sort of like democracy dying, being bled out. Here you go, prime example. You got 3 million people, and then hundreds of thousands of people at weekends crying out, "We do not want this. We do not want this." He doesn't care. This is the guy who turned around on day one of his office, says there's going to be some changes in this country. If you don't like it, the door's there. You can leave. This guy is he's a monster. He is akin to Hitler. Trump and Starmer sign US and UK tech prosperity deal. This is the guy, Starmer, who turns around transhumanism style and says, "Oh, I'm kind of like, we're going to put AI into the veins of Britain." And here you go. Who are those? Who are those companies in the UK tech prosperity deal? Check out these bad boys. Microsoft. Check out this bad boy. BlackRock. Amazon. So you got Bill Gates. You got sort of like Jeff Bezos. You got Larry Fink. All right, and then you've got others as well. Here, OpenAI. You got Sam Altman. Then haven't you? All right, and then you've got all of the others as well. Peter Thiel. You've got all of the tech giants. So this is why you end up having 24, Palantir, sort of like contracts that are being sold with the government. Nobody asked for any of it. Starmer considers digital IDs for everyone to tackle illegal immigration. That was in September of this year. All right. And then literally less than 4 days later, he came out with it. Bless Lucy Connolly. She was, in her own words, "I was Starmer's political prisoner," says a UK mother who was jailed over a tweet. This guy is the worst prime minister. He has literally destroyed this country with the open door policy and the permittance of Islam. Just an absolute monster. Does not serve the interests of the British people. Trump warns UK Prime Minister Starmer to stop censoring British people who criticize mass migration. So you can't criticize any of these things. And who was it? It was even JD Vance. When it's all going a bit Pete Tong, when you've got Guy Liner Vance turning around and saying, "Oh, well, if we're not careful, you're going to have like the UK being an Islamic state with nuclear weapons." He's not wrong. Donald Trump is more pro-Britain than Keir Starmer. I think the Chinese are. I think old Vlad's even more sort of like got a soft spot. At least he likes these countries. At least Hitler liked the UK a little bit. He didn't bomb, he didn't bomb Oxford or Cambridge because he wanted to have those as his bases. But the guy, do you know what I mean? Didn't become as evil as this guy. He's got the same amount of deaths, more tyrannies. Oh, it's awful. Here, Starmer and Macron unveil new nuclear weapons pact. Starmer issues UK chilling warning, prepare for war. Yeah, I wonder what war he was talking about. Here, Keir Starmer ignores huge petition to stop asylum seeker benefits. These guys get so much more money. And then this idiot turns around and gives billions and billions to the climate lie. He gives all of the money over to these immigrants to get free dental, free eyes, pocket money, all of their food, all of their rent, everything all taken care of. And then they get like a green card at the end of it, get onto the housing market and all of that sort of stuff and get given accommodation. All right. Whilst the rest of us are freezing, we're cold, we've got no money, we've got none of these things. All right, it's either heating or eating. You can't have both over here in the UK. Being just literally having the whole country being taken over, and then an illegitimate king who said that he would, defend the faiths. He's not. He's just offending Islam. Starmer says Britain is preparing for war. Yeah, this is the idiot. He wants to go and arm the Ukraine with long-range missiles. What was Vlad turning around and saying around any country that would do that? Doesn't care, trying to provoke war with Russia. Here, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer invites former Al-Qaeda leader to the UK for a state visit. This is the guy, Abu Muhammad al-Jalani, right? This is the guy who cuts off Christians' heads. And this is the guy also that was all given a red carpet when it came to, you know, the UN most recently in their summit. The new sort of prime minister of the new president, sorry, of Syria. I think I'm done with that, but I'll read this one out just to sort of like reinforce my point. Right, two things. UK Starmer pledges 2 billion weapons to Zelensky as Brits starve. They can't afford to make their bills. Over 30,000 small boat migrants have arrived in UK under Keir Starmer's watch. It's estimated about 1,000 a day. Absolutely disgusting. All right, let's have a little look-see at this article. God bless you guys. All right, the UK and Canada lead the West's descent into digital authoritarianism. These chilling words from George Orwell's, you know, Big Brother is watching you, is a masterpiece. No longer, however, read as fiction, but are becoming a bleak reality in the UK and Canada, where digital dystopian measures are unraveling the fabric of freedom in two of the West's oldest democracies. Under the guise of safety and innovation, the UK and Canada are deploying invasive tools that undermine privacy, stifle free expression, and foster a culture of self-censorship. Both nations are exporting their digital control frameworks through the Five Eyes Alliance, a covert intelligence sharing network uniting, wait for it up in there now, UK, Canada, US, Australia, and New Zealand, established during the Cold War. So it's the Five Eyes Alliance that is literally ruining these older democracies. I said about the UK, and I said about Canada, and I said about Australia, okay, but we've also got to include now with that the New Zealanders as well as the US. I'm going to keep an eye on this then now. Simultaneously, their alignment with the United Nations Agenda 2030, particularly Sustainable Development Goals 16.9, which mandates universal legal identity by 2030, supports a global policy for digital IDs, such as the UK's proposed BRIC card and Canada's digital identity program, which funnels personal data into centralized systems under the pretext of efficiency and inclusion. Do you see how it is, guys? So when we're saying this country's doing this country's doing that, we see this now when it comes to these Five Eyes. It's not just, well, it looks a bit suspicious. They're staggering this, they're doing that, and then a week later we're doing it, then they're doing it. It's all literally intentional. Continuing by championing expansive digital regulations such as the Online Safety Act over here in the UK and Canada's pending Bill C8, which prioritise state-defined safety over individual liberties. Both nations are not just embracing digital authoritarianism, they're accelerating the West's descent into it. Let's start with the UK. The UK's digital dragnet. The United Kingdom has long positioned itself as a global leader in surveillance. The British spy agency Government Communication Headquarters, GCHQ, runs the formerly secret mass surveillance program codenamed Tempora, operational since 2011, which intercepts and stores vast amounts of global internet and phone traffic by tapping into transatlantic fiber optic cables. Can anyone just say, you know what I mean, Edward Snowden? Knowledge of its existence only came about in 2013 thanks to the bombshell documents leaked by former National Security Agency contractor and whistleblower Edward Snowden. It's not just a US problem, he said. The UK has a huge dog in this fight. Snowden told The Guardian in a 2013 report. They, i.e. GCHQ, are worse than the US. God bless Edward Snowden. That's all I'm going to say. Following that, this is the Investigatory Powers Act, also dubbed the Snoopers Charter, which mandates that internet service providers store users' browsing histories, their emails, their texts, and phone calls for up to 1 year. Did you know that? Government agencies, including the police and intelligence services like MI5, MI6, and GCHQ, can access this data without a warrant in many cases, enabling bulk collection of communications metadata. This has been criticized for enabling mass surveillance on a scale that invades everyday privacy. It's really inconceivable. It's like in the US, all right, it is illegal. This is part of, I finished watching the Age of Disclosure documentary last night, all right, okay, and this is what they were saying. A few tidbits for you. First of all, really disconcerting that these UAPs, UFOs can turn on and off American and Russian nuclear weapons, added to the fact that there's 20 nuclear weapons that have gone missing, by the way, but also a case of like over in the US, when it comes to this disclosure, is that people have a right to know what their governments are literally doing. They have a right to do it. This is part of the enclosure. And not to do this disclosure literally breeds dishonesty, mistrust in your government. And for reasons why, as we are now, finding out, recent expansions, okay, under the Online Safety Act, further empower authorities to demand backdoors to encrypted apps like WhatsApp, potentially scanning private messages for vaguely defined harmful content. A critical move by Big Brother Watch, a privacy and advocacy group, decry this as a gateway to mass surveillance. These guys are public figures. We should know everything about what's going on with them. Oh, but they don't want to be transparent and release the Epstein files. But everything about us as private citizens is all fair game, isn't it? This is why we're trying to say, do not trust these caricatures. Do not trust your government. And maybe it might save some lives when there's a next, sort of like dangling carrot moment with some technology. Or you've got the Peter Thiels, the Sam Altmans, the Elon Musk, the Jeff Bezos, the Bill Gates. All right. And you might want to buy their stuff. Or maybe when it comes to pharmaceutical companies. Or more importantly, if you're still here during the tribulation, not to take the mark of the beast. We are trying to show and highlight these guys and their dishonesty and their illegality. Because it says here, in most cases, they don't even have to have a warrant. What happens to the law that turns around and says, I want to, Your Honor, this person's a person of interest. We need to have this technology to monitor their phones for whatever. They can do this indefinitely with backdoor keys, just checking out absolutely everything. If you saw The War of the World recently with Ice Cube in it, in a new film on the sort of like, I think, Amazon Prime, all right, you've got Ice Cube there literally. With this technology, we can go and access absolutely everything, every single camera, everywhere, access every single phone, everywhere. See that you taps into that person through the face rec on the street. Boom, on comes his screen, everything that they have, all of their phones, all of their passwords, all their banking, or their contacts, and everything else relating to their risk assessment. This is what they have over us, guys. The Online Safety Act, which received royal assent, exactly, no surprise that you get King ushering that in, on October 26th, represents a sprawling piece of legislation by the UK government to regulate online content and protect users. Do you feel protected? I feel spied upon. All these cameras around. We've never been so unsafe. And these cameras around, let's talk about cameras around for a little bit. When they've got the Charlie Kirk assassination and the assassin, oh, I'm sorry, we just deleted that video. We can't find it anymore. Whereas if that happened in Britain and Charlie Kirk was over here in the UK, all right, and he was assassinated, we could have had like a 3D sketch of that boy just by every single angle of his face in beautiful, perfect detail because of us being a police state. But here, they're saying under the pretense of the Online Safety Act, it's particularly helpful with children from illegal and harmful materials. Really, as if these guys encouraging sort of like death and murder and rape and depression and suicide. Is that the kind of like, you know, protecting children from harm, euthanasia bills, medical assistance in dying against their, you know, parents' consent? Are these the sort of things that they're trying to protect your children over? I wonder. Confusing them sexually when it comes to, you know, the alphabet people and the gender sort of like, you know, argument and everything like that. Oh, really? Okay, my bad. This continues. By July 2025, the Online Safety Act was considered fully enforced for major provisions. That's exactly why I wasn't able to make videos, and I still can't. The Lord showed me a workaround with their tech today. I was really happy. I was like, thank you, Lord. All right, but here you go. This sweeping regime, aligned with global surveillance trends via Agenda 2030's push for digital control, threatens to entrench a state-sanctioned digital dragnet, prioritizing safety, which is an absolute nonsense, over fundamental freedoms. Elon Musk's platform X has warned that the act risks seriously infringing on free speech, with the threat of fines of up to 18 million or 10% of global annual turnover for non-compliance. That's what Ofcom has forced these guys onto, encouraging platforms to censor legitimate content to avoid punishment. What we were saying about all of those millions and millions of videos that, you know, YouTube's, you know, took down because of the vaccine. Musk took to X to express his personal view on the act's true purpose. He says that the Online Safety Act, its purpose is suppression of the people. The Online Safety Act was never about protecting anyone. In late September, I'll ignore that one. The Act's state purpose is to make the UK, apparently, the safest place in the world to be online. However, critics argue that it's a brazen power grab by the UK government to increase censorship and surveillance, all the while masquerading as a noble crusade to protect users. Yeah. Please do see our videos, our two videos, part 1 and part 2, the psychology of tyranny. Another pivotal development is the Data Use and Access Act 2025, which received royal assent in June. Oh, yeah, you've got old Charlesy boys rubber stamping this, isn't he? This wide-ranging legislation streamlines data protection rules to boost economic growth and public services, but at the cost of privacy safeguards. It allows broader data sharing among government agencies and private entities, including for AI-driven analytics. For example, it enables smart data schemes where personal information, yours, from banking, energy, telecom sectors can be accessed more easily, seamlessly for consumer benefits like personalized services, but raises fears of unchecked profiling. So all of a sudden, when you're looking at something or you're thinking about it, and the brain-computer interface that's on your brain turns around and says, "Oh, here you go. I'm going to provide you next time in your home section with an advert relating to what it was that you thought about. We're going to get to know you. We're going to put down all of this artificial intelligence cabling everywhere and monitor and track and compile ridiculous amounts of information on you, and then we're going to put it onto a supercomputer that is called the Beast." Can't make it up. Cybersecurity enhancements further expand the UK's pervasive surveillance measures. The forthcoming Cybersecurity and Resilience Bill, announced in the July 2024 King's Speech and slated for introduction by year's end, expands the network and information systems regulation to critical infrastructure. All right. This is it. In 2025, trials in cities like London have integrated AI cameras that scan crowds in real time, linking to national database for instant identification, evoking a biometric police state. The New York Times reported British authorities have also recently expanded overnight censorship of online speech, tried weakening encryption, and experimented with artificial intelligence to review asylum claims. Compounding this, UK police arrest over 30 people a day for offensive tweets and online messages per the Times, often under vague laws, fueling justifiable fears of Orwell's thought police. Yet of all the UK's digital dystopian measures, none has ignited greater fury than Prime Minister Starmer's mandatory, there's your choice, all right, brick card digital ID, a smartphone-based system effectively turning every citizen into a tracked entity. First announced on September the 4th as a tool to tackle illegal immigration giveover and strengthen border security, really, but rapidly the brick card scope ballooned through function creep to envelop everyday essentials like welfare and banking and public access, which is what we saw all the time. These IDs stored on smartphones containing sensitive data like your photos, names, date of birth, nationalities, and residency status are sold as the front door to all kinds of everyday tasks, a vision championed by war criminal Tony Blair Institute for Global Change and echoed by Work and Pensions Secretary Liz Kendall MP in her October 13th parliamentary speech. In Parliament, MPs pushed the digital ID scheme, selling it as a modern and efficient product. But behind the polished language lies a darker truth: total state control. This digital shackles, all right, a system has sparked fear resistance over the UK. A scathing letter led by independent MP Robert Lowe and endorsed by nearly 40 MPs from diverse parties denounces the government's proposed mandatory brick card digital ID as dangerous, intrusive, and profoundly un-British. This is why they got all the veterans to do it. I hated them for that. Conservative MP David Davis issued a stark warning declaring that such systems are profoundly dangerous to the privacy and fundamental freedoms of British people. On X, Davis implied his critique, citing a 14 million fine imposed on Capita after hackers breached pension savers' personal data, writing, "This is another perfect example of why the government's digital ID cards are such a terrible idea." By early October, a petition opposing the proposal had garnered over 3 million signatures, reflecting widespread public outcry. The government, however, dismissed these objections, stating, "We will introduce a digital ID within this parliament to address illegal immigration, streamline access to government services, and improve efficiency. We will consult on details soon." So this is what we're saying: the lie is illegal immigration. And then the real thing that they want is to streamline access to government services. So what was I saying? If you're on benefits, you're going to have this ID. If you're on sick benefits, you'll have it. You're paying your child tax credits or your council tax bill, that's what it's going to be there for. They say it's for improving efficiency. It'll be absolutely flipping everywhere with biometric data. Please see our video today on the ETA scheme and that being enforced, mandatory. Guys, that's just the UK. I want to see what you guys got to say before we bounce over to Canada. Come, Lord Jesus. That's it. Exactly it. Hi, Stephen. And this is it. And can we just like call time for like 1 minute? If this is what they can do with technology externally, what on earth do you think that they'll be able to do with this being put in internally? Could you imagine how they're then able to behaviorally modify and track and adjust you? There's some doors in that thought that you do not want to be opening, what they could and could not do against your consent with that sort of access. This is it. Let's go to Canada. Canada's surveillance surge across the Atlantic. Canada's surveillance surge under Prime Minister Mark Carney, a former Bank of England head and World Economic Forum board member. Conflict of interest, anyone know? Mirrors the UK's dystopian trajectory. Carney, with his globalist agenda, has overseen a slew of bills that prioritise security over sovereignty. Let's take Bill C2, an act to amend the Customs Act introduced on June 17th, 2025, which enables warrantless data access at borders and sharing with US authorities via Cloud Act, right? Clarifying lawful overseas use of data act, essentially handing Canadian citizens' digital lives to foreign powers. Despite public backlash prompting proposed amendments in October, its core enhanced monitoring of transactions and exports remains ripe for abuse. Complementing this, Bill C8, first introduced June 18, 2025, amends the Telecommunications Act to impose cybersecurity mandates on critical sectors like telecoms and finances. It empowers the government to issue secret orders compelling companies to install backdoors or weaken encryption, potentially compromising user security. These orders can mandate the cutoff of internet and telephone services to specific individuals without the need for a warrant or judicial oversight, under the vague premise of securing the system against any threats, which is what they're doing over here in the UK, laying down all of this artificial intelligence cabling so they can isolate, triangulate your house and cut you off. Opposition to this bill has been fierce. In a parliamentary speech, Canada's Conservative MP Matt Strauss decried the bill's sections 15.1 and 15.2 as granting unprecedented, incredible power to the government. He warned of a future where individuals could be digitally exiled, cut off from email, banking, and work without explanation or without any remorse. Liken it to a digital gulag. So, introduced on October the 1st, the Bill C8 will effectively end people's lives on demand. If you end up saying the wrong thing, the government will be able to immediately cut your internet and telephone off. This is the kill switch that these social media providers have. YouTube have it. That's why we left. Continuing with this. The Canadian Constitution Foundation, CCF, and privacy advocates have echoed these concerns, arguing that the bill's ambiguous language and lack of due process violate fundamental charter rights, including freedom of expression, liberty, and protection against unreasonable search and seizure. We call it Article 10 and our unalienable rights. Bill C8 complements the Online Harms Act, Bill C63, first introduced in February 2024, which demanded platforms purge content like child exploitation and hate speech within 24 hours, risking censorship with vague, harmful definitions. These are the guys that want to traffic children and drink their blood. I'm going to take a moment now. That really annoys me when these guys are just so two-faced. Inspired by the UK's OSA and the EU's Digital Services Act, collapses amid fierce backlash for its potential to enable censorship, infringe on free speech, and a lack of due process. What's really important, guys, is that we have this is what our heart's cry is. We love you, we care for you, and we bless you in Jesus' name. We don't want you to be deceived and conned and scammed and having all of these things in and around you. These guys don't want to, be transparent and open. Look at the things that they're not telling you go in the vaccine. Look at the things they're not telling you goes in the milk now and into the food and into the sort of like, Aerovax and everything else. How, untransparent that they literally are. And they want to suppress all of this stuff. And then they have the audacity and the cheek and the nerve to turn around and say that this is all for your protection. The hypocrisy of them. These bills build on an alarming precedent. During the COVID era, Canada's Public Health Agency admitted to tracking 33 million devices during lockdown, nearly the entire population, under the pretext of public health. A blatant violation exposed only through persistent scrutiny. The Communication Security Establishment, empowered by the long-standing Bill C-59, continues bulk metadata collection, often without adequate oversight. These measures are not isolated. They stem from a deeper rot where pandemic-era controls have been normalized into everyday policies. Canada's Digital Identity Programme, touted as a convenient tool for seamless access to government services, emulates the UK's BRIC card and aligns with UN Agenda 2030's Sustainable Development Goals. It remains in active development and piloting phases, with full national rollout projected for 2027 and 2028. This is what Orwell warned. The price of freedom is eternal vigilance. Orwell's 1984 warns we must urgently resist this descent into digital authoritarianism through petitions, protests, and demands for transparency before a Western Great Firewall is erected, replicating China's stranglehold that policies every keystroke and thought. It's a really good article coming out from Zero Hedge there, guys. All right, relating to the monstrosity that is, these Five Eyes. All right, the UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand, and the US. The UK and Canada lead the West's descent into digital authoritarianism. Okay, hoping that you guys are understanding why it is, you get a bit frustrated about some of these things, because this isn't democratic. This isn't what the people voted for. You're not consulted. You're not asked. You're not even worth the ink for them to even write to you. They want to be doing all of this against your consent. I don't want to live in a world where I'm trapped and I'm surveyed and I'm everywhere. So I leave my phone when I go on my prayer walks, and I come back and there's been like 4 or 5 phone calls desperately wanting to know where I am, what I'm doing, because I don't want to be listened to. I don't want to be seen. I don't want to be near people. I want to be on my own. I want to be with the Lord. I turn off all my devices. I make sure they're not in my bed. I don't want them controlling me. All right, I just don't want any of that. But this is the world in which we really do living. All of it is disgusting. It leaves like a horrid taste in your mouth. These evil monsters that have all of these sick perversions, that do all these evil, wicked things to children, and then have the stones to turn around to us and say, we're going to be doing this to protect them. as they confuse their gender, their sexuality. They go drinking of their blood. They go harvesting their organs, offering them death in euthanasia, lying to them. I'd like to finish with some good news, please, before we do end up leaving. All right, Ephesians 1:7. In him we have redemption through his blood, the forgiveness of our sins according to the riches of his grace. 1 Peter 2:24. He himself bore our sins in his body on the tree, that we might die to sin and live to righteousness. By his wounds you have been healed. Hebrews 9:28. So Christ, having been offered once to bear the sins of many, will appear a second time, not to deal with sin, but to save those who eagerly await him. Amen. Guys, I'd like to thank you all for the pleasure of your company. Just a quick reminder as well, please do go over to our Telegram channel. Guys, you're going to find so much information over there as well as a video being put up on Rumble most recently today around the ETA scheme relating to this biometric demands at airports and the like. And literally, if you do not have one of those, you can't come into the UK. Isn't that awesome? But also, guys, hoping that you've seen the read all about it sections, and you can read all about it too. In a moment, guys, I've got 30 sort of like supporting imagery relating to memes and things, surrounding the UK and Canada, literally the descent into digital authoritarianism. So I will post those in a moment. I'll put a thumbnail onto our live, and thank you to our team and each of you guys there. If you're wanting to reach out to me as well, my email is in the description box. That's mrdtrendell, all one word, at gmail.com. But God bless you. Thank you to the team and for the pleasure of your company. And we shall talk again soon tomorrow.